So I don't know if this was ever asked. How many people in here already teach aquaculture? Okay. So how many people currently teach aquaculture or have taught aquaculture? All right, so we got some. Have you ever Googled teaching aquaculture and seen a curriculum that was developed many years ago? Okay. Okay, all right. So we started this years ago in 2009.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe I need to make it, I don't know, whatever you do.
Try again.
Okay. So in 2009, FDACS came to us and they said, we have about, I don't know, 8 schools that have aquaculture, and we need a curriculum to go to the administrators and say, this is what we're going to teach, and this is what it's going to cover. And excuse me, and can you help us put this together? And I'm like, all right, well, I can't, but and so we put together a whole team of people that put together this curriculum. And after it was all implemented, then there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 schools that had aquaculture because they had a full plan. Now it's getting dated, but there's still pieces of it that are good. And it's not, all of the information is still good, but and there's a lot more information that could be added to it. You know? So it's a good baseline for information. So it was developed as a 9th grade level, so you could make it more simple or more difficult, however, and it's free to download to everybody. And this was the team that I put together. Everybody contributed different parts of it. Brian Myers was key because he works in ag ed and communication, and he and his grad students take information that is taught for STEM purposes or for anything within the schools, and they put the proper codes and the things that are needed so you know what you are covering. And I'm certain all of those have somewhat changed and there's been improvements and all that. But he is the key person who helped put a lot of this information in the way we like worded it so it covered the things that the schools needed to. And there's 8 modules: general biology of aquaculture species, design and operation of grow out facilities, broodstock and hatchery stuff. There's water quality lessons, there's nutrition, harvesting, processing, packaging, and aquatic plant culture. And within those, it was told that everybody said we need activities, we need something to engage the kids. And so we made 24 fun activities that teaches some component of all of this. And so the activities are part of each module. There's a step-by-step guide. There's all kinds of info. We have the information, how long it'll take to implement it, what you have to do to prepare the materials, everything. All the Sunshine State standards, I'm sure they've changed, have they? Not much. Okay. And then student performance standards was another way that some schools looked at it, and I'm certain some of these have changed. And we provided all this support literature and PDFs and everything to go. And there's PowerPoints, there's starts of PowerPoints, there's everything there. And here's the stuff, and you modify it and do what you want. And here's the initial beginning for it. And that was the idea. And so some of the activities, fish have mouths that point down, forward, or up, and that determines what they eat. And so they did quick lessons on different activities where they would use something like that, and they understood the concept. And it took a few minutes. There's all sorts of live virtual dissections, all kinds of internal anatomy information, and that was the marshmallow game. So of the design and operation of the production facilities, there was all sorts of about extensive, which is you just like clams, you put them out and you kind of let them go. There's semi-intensive and intensive things like a recirculating aquaculture system. There's pond info, tank info, designs. There's all stuff about oceans. There is pond activities, calculating the surface area and the volume of ponds or tanks. metric and US units. There's a soil permeability one that's done with a bucket that you drill holes in, and you put different sizes of particles within it and then add water, and you see about what type of soil you have and how well it holds water. There's a lot of places in Florida that you can't have a pond because it's sand and it just goes into the ground. We have diel cycles of dissolved oxygen in the water. So during the day, the highest oxygen is at the peak sun. And then the lowest is at 5 a.m. right before the sun comes up. So it goes up and down. And so in all the water bodies with the algae and photosynthesis. And so there's an activity there to let them learn that.
Why? Did you say why the dissolved oxygen is so low at 5 a.m.?
Because it's the longest.
Why is the DO so low?
Go. All right.
Yeah, go ahead. Why is it so low? Hey!
It's the longest period of time from photosynthesis.
Yep. And you're still breathing.
Right. So then there's like a carbon dioxide and the oxygen move up, and it's photosynthesis and respiration, and it happens in water. And it's.
Sorry, I just want to make sure y'all are paying attention. It's after lunch.
You got me. You scared me. And then there's a difference when if you aerate something and you don't, you start to see it. So if you aerate a pond and you see where it doesn't have that huge drop and you're using oxygen and aeration to keep it consistent throughout the day. Building a RAS, there was a virtual computer simulation and it didn't work for a while and it worked again. And the last time I tried it, it worked. Another one is we built an airlift system with PVC in a bucket. You can move a whole lot of water with air, and you can calculate how much water it's moving, and the students can learn all different types of things with a PVC with an air stone down in it, and it'll move a lot of water. And there's an activity about that. All sorts of volume calculations and for addition of chemicals like salt and other things to the water. And you do the volumes and how you calculate what to put into the water, how you can calculate what a part per million is, or a milligram per liter is, and what that means for aquaculture. There's one about breeding of broodstock, and they used, this was developed, and so these are all different types of koi. Some of them have high value because of their pretty coloration and their rarity and things. And so it was equated to corn and different other variety testings and how you look at what the breeding is. Now they have all these for, there needs to be another one of these for clownfish, because all the clownfish that are out there used to be perfect Nemo, and that's what everybody wanted. And we would raise Nemos and they were perfect, and some of them weren't perfect, and those didn't get marketed. Now, the ones that are not perfect became the ones that they want. They still sell lots of clownfish.
So my favorite are the ones they refer to as emo, and they're like completely black clownfish.
And so all of these genetic imperfections, now they know how to put them together and breed them to make all these new patterns. And so there could be a whole activity that can be developed now. And then there's all these charts of all the different ways that the clownfish are done. And it's all the ones that we never used to sell in aquaculture, and now they're sold, and they have some really cool colorations. And you know, the producers will come up with some kind of new exotic name for them. And
It's all in the marketing, man. It's all in the marketing.
Hatching a brine shrimp. There's one on that, and there's an activity about spawning clams in a bucket. It actually works really well. And Charlie kind of touched on it earlier. He saw the clams in the buckets, and it's all done with temperature changes. Just quick temperature changes, and they spawn. And it's all dialed in on timing, and you can do it in buckets. There's all kinds of water quality activities. So they get to use water quality equipment and understand it better. And that's going to be a component of what you're doing while you're here. The nitrogen cycle that I told you that nice little chart on earlier, and how you monitor it and take care of it in a tank. Chlorine used to sterilize water and to dechlorinate it, and lessons on what to do so you don't use tap water and kill your fish, and how you sterilize water from the ocean and you don't introduce something else and things like that. And then using UV light as a sterilizer. It's a really cool activity. And if you're ever stranded and you need sterile water, you can take water out of a stream. You know, you're not supposed to drink it from a stream, but if you put it up in the sun and you let it, the sun itself will sterilize it. And after like a day in the sun, then you can drink that water. And so it has all kinds of activities where you plate it and you look at bacteria growth, and it's very inexpensive to do, and all the information's there. And this is what it looks like. You see there, they're sterilizing. Nutrition's calculating feeding rates, percentages to give the fish, how big are the fish you feed per biomass. You typically feed, like a normal range for us would be like 3% of their body weight per day as a grow out fish. So you have to know how big your fish is, how many there is, and then you know the biomass, and you can calculate how much food to put in. Optimal size of food particle for the fish. Obviously, if it's a big fish, it doesn't need something tiny. Feed conversion ratios are very important, and it's the amount of food that you give them for the amount of growth that they give back to you. There's a way to make pelleted diets, and then there's an observation thing, and this is give you all sorts of commercial diets and what these mean to different types. I'll tell you these have higher protein in them because they're darker. I'll tell you that one's pelleted and it's going to sink. This one's going to float. There's all these different things that you can learn from these diets and behavior and water and things like that. Harvesting, there's something for all different activities. One that's really important, and we pushed it, was a country of origin labeling came out many years ago. And if you go to any one of your seafood counters at Publix or Walmart or whatever it is, a fresh seafood, you're going to see a country of origin labeling. Where did it come from? Is it farm raised or is it wild caught? That's the two things that they by law are supposed to put on it. And they're pretty good about doing it in the display. So sending them out to try to find out where our seafood comes from. And is it farm raised or is it wild caught is one of the activities, and teaching them about that. So they know what their food, where their food's coming from, and more about the food that they eat. There's a dichotomous key for aquatic freshwater plants. Collect them from a canal or somewhere in a lake or something, and then you can have them keyed out for different, or get them anywhere you want and have them keyed out. This is where the curriculum looks like. You type Teach Aquaculture, it's the first thing that pops up. They had, it looked before, it had some security issues because University of Florida is constantly getting hacked, or attempted to be hacked. And so this was one that didn't have security. So it was rebuilt with the proper security in there. You have to log on, and previously it was all automated. So we were getting automated information. We put in the information, they would get an email. They can't seem to do that because that's providing an in somehow to hackers. So now they send an email, and then we have to send a little link of what it is. And I will share with you what the links are. But if you go there and you haven't been there, please log on and just give your school and your name and your contact. And it's not going to be shared with anybody. And we've used it previously to like trace who was using this curriculum and that kind of thing. We actually sent back emails to some to see what worked and what didn't work. And I'll talk a little about that in a minute. But anyway, we will give you how to log on. You'll have to do it on each page. It used to be once you were in, you could do all of them, and it would trace where you went and what you downloaded. So we had information, and we could ask you, did this work or not? And it was too much of a pain to really do. It was collecting too much info. But it's every page that you go to for security purpose, you would put in the password, and then go to the next page. I'm like, okay, how do I get in? We put in the password, and there you are. It lets you in each one. It's a security deal. So implementing this, we were funded on another round to figure out where it was being used and to compile all this information. It was well over 2,000 users. It's being used actively in 50 states and 14 countries. And that was when we kind of gave up on tracing them, and it still continues to bring in numbers and numbers of where it's going. At least 150 teachers in the first 2 years that we did this were trained in just like this in rooms of 50 people. And it was in the Fort Pierce where I worked on the other side of the state. There's been several others, at least 100 schools had a program. I don't even know. I know DAC says that they have 30 people, 30 schools certified.
That's why we're trying
How
to
many
push
is it?
certification so that we can give accurate numbers for stuff like this, because it would be really nice for us to know who is doing aquaculture. It'd be very nice for us to
So
know.
a lot of people were using even like one lesson from what we had.
Mhm.
And they would grab that and they would go seek, as teachers do, seek information and something to use. And we tried to give you something that was as user-friendly for you to use in your classroom. And so then we surveyed, and there was some things that people just grabbed individual lessons and used. Some people only had an aquarium in their classroom. Some people didn't. It was all different types of usage of this curriculum. And we were all happy to do it. So it's helped. There could be more. I'm up for suggestions. As the economy's better and things are there, there's no reason that linking all these together, there's other universities that have pieces of curriculums. That's kind of what you're going to be talking about, and where you're trying to put all this information together for Florida teachers. So we're just here to help you out. And so communicating things, and people will send an email, hey, I wish you had a lesson on this. I wish you had a lesson on that. And that's something that we can try to accommodate. A lot of people want it. We need more visuals. We need more pictures. We need things. Do you have any video links? Well, YouTube, it just took it over. So I can't keep up on that. That's impossible. You can go search on YouTube all you want because they come in and out. But there was a lot of information in PDFs and photos and all kinds of things we added in that you can use and modify the PowerPoints that are given, and you can modify them for yourself. So we just tried to give you the best baseline that we could. So we did a survey. We sent it out to people. We had 802 valid emails. They change a lot. It's kind of a low response rate, but we still got some numbers. They found it from an internet search, friend, coworkers. It's interesting when you trace them over the course of time. It'd be interesting. You get one person from Iowa, and then like 2 weeks later, there'd be like 25 more from Iowa. So it went out on some like a teacher's listserv or something. Hey, this is cool. Look, and they'd send it out. Boom, and then here that whole state all of a sudden had it when they went around. And you can almost pick up state by state how that occurred. Yep. And the grades taught, there's the wide ranging high school years, the majority. The modules used, they use the introduction to aquaculture the most, and water quality and general biology. There was a lot of emails received about the breeding and hatchery, and they loved it and they wanted it further expanded. And it's too hard to keep up on that for what we were doing. There's room for expanding in the future if we continue to develop this, and there's no reason we shouldn't if it's helping the teachers. Usefulness, 1 to 4, it looks like they were all good except harvesting. And
That's because they all kept their fish. They didn't want to.
yeah, exactly.
They're like, oh no, they're pets.
And effectiveness in developing knowledge. And you get the breeding. It's like, wow. Yeah. Resource use.
Assessments are at the bottom. Oh, you guys are gonna have so much fun then.
Yeah, so they like activities, videos, and things.
But not tests. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. They want to write their own test. Comments. 92% said it was easy to understand. 78 said it was easy. 88 said it was easy to navigate the website. And I don't know what that last thing is. They suggested new topics and more information on specific species was added in. We never did a career one. I know that they're going to do one of those. some of these were added in, and this is some of the requests that are there. It's funded twice. You go out and serve all of the schools. Eric and his predecessor, Carlos, put a lot of miles and a lot of time to go out and personally help them. We had people on my side of the state that did it, and we helped with several local schools as well. And there wasn't money for this, okay? There isn't money for Eric to do this. It needs to be really like University of Florida, FDACS, or a cooperation of it could have like one person, you, to do it all, and you could go around and go to every school. You need mileage money, you need other things. So anyway, Tropical Aquaculture here, Craig Watson has put a lot of money in, helped out. Sea Grant has, and our department in Gainesville has put a lot of money towards it. So we need input on this to make it better in the future. And questions. There it is. So the password is, can we tell?
So before we give you the password, this is optional. Okay, this is optional. I'm gonna give you the requireds. Okay, that's my job. I get to make you do things. Yay. A lot of the things he just talked about are gonna be covered in the required section. Some of the activities and stuff like that are gonna be pulled straight from this. But it's funny that you kept bringing up, like, it needs to be updated and stuff like that, because I'm pretty sure that's what the master's program I'm gonna be doing starting in January is gonna directly be involved with. So
Excellent.
I know, right? Come back in 2 years and hopefully this is all panned out. We'll see.
Yeah, Katrina's been working really